Yeah, so we got it under our audio effects here. We can click there and go and find it. My favorite way to find stuff in live, though, is the keyboard command. You see it right up here in the search bar. It's Command F on a Mac or Control F. I type that and I just start writing auto. And after 3 letters, we start to see it automatically populate. And from there, I can just hit the down arrow and enter, and it's in my session real quick. I find that a little bit faster than, okay, let's see, where is it? Kind of looking it up. And, since we're probably all struggling to find the time to do this as much as possible, if you can save a few seconds on every time you add a device or plugin in your session, you'll find a lot. And even if you're searching for like bass sounds, you just write bass and see what comes up, find stuff. So here we go.
Yep, that's the best way, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Just type it in and see what comes up.
Especially if you have tags going on, then you can do hashtag to look for tags, and yeah, it's super fast.
Yeah, I agree. Save yourself a little time. So we got our auto filter here, and auto filter is really an EQ. You can think of it as an equalizer. It's just got some little extra fun stuff. The auto part means you can really modulate it a lot. But at its core, that's really all it is an EQ. And we'll see on our... Is this large enough? You want me to zoom in a little bit here?
You can't do a bell filter, though. That's the caveat there.
Yes. Whereas in an EQ, you can get just a little bump. Here
You could
can...
emulate that, though, by doing it in parallel, which is kind of cool.
That's true. So here we've got our little frequency graph here, and this is the same thing you'll see in an EQ. This is like an X and Y axis. So if you think of the X axis, the horizontal one, that's your frequencies, and the Y axis is the volume. So if I play this drum beat, I'll just turn it down a little bit for now. And let's get that coming out of my headphones so I can hear it too. So you can see the low frequencies bump up when the kick drum hits, and a little spike over here with the snare. And here are hi-hats going on. Solo those hi-hats. So they're happening in the high frequencies. Kick drum is way down here. Snare's a little bit higher with some higher frequencies in it. It's a nice addition they did in Live 12.3 when they updated AutoFilter to give us that visual feedback. There's a lot more visual feedback in AutoFilter now. So the basics of it really was start with the frequency control and the different types of filters. Right now, we are on the low pass filter. So that means we are allowing low frequencies to come through. And this blue line kind of shows which frequencies we're allowing in. So anything under the blue line is going to be audible. Anything outside of this blue line, we cannot hear. We're cutting it out. And you'll notice it sounds kind of muffled. And it gets even more so here. We don't even really hear the hi-hats at this point. And most of these filters will also include a resonance. So the frequency is where we're cutting the actual frequencies off. And the resonance gives us a little boost at that cutoff frequency. And you can kind of hear there's like a tone going on. I can really crank it to make it very obvious.
Or a lot of boost.
There we go. So we have a choice of how steep we want this filter to be with the low pass filter. Right now it's on 24, which means it's going down 24 decibels per octave. And if I make it 12 decibels per octave, that'll be less steep. So that includes more high frequencies. We allow ourselves to have just a little more of that high energy here as we start filtering stuff out. Whereas 24, that cuts it off a bit more. And we've got all kinds of different types of filters. So low pass is pretty traditional on a lot of synthesizers, probably the most common one you see, I'd say. We've got high pass, which is also pretty common. It's just the opposite. This allows the high frequencies through. So again, this blue line here is showing which frequencies we can hear and which ones we can't hear. So now we're cutting out the bass. High pass allows high frequencies to pass. It's kind of the same thing as saying low cut, just as low pass is almost the same as saying high cut. You're cutting out the high frequencies and allowing the lows to pass. In this case, cutting out the lows and letting the high frequencies pass. And this has the same control here too for the steepness of our filter. All right, and now we got a couple others. This one is band pass. It's kind of like both at the same time. It's a high pass and a low pass at the same time. It's just accenting a more specific frequency and cutting out most of the other stuff around it. And
That's the one you'd use in parallel if you wanted to emulate like a band pass.
Right, if we wanted to do that.
Or I mean, what do you call it? Peak filter.
Mm-hmm. That would be involve making a rack and stacking it together. I guess if that's your goal, you're probably better off using EQ8, EQ3, something like that.
Well, it is a little bit different. I've experimented with it. It creates like little dips on either side, so it can be an interesting technique.
Yeah, not without its merits, right?
Yep.
We can change the steepness here, so we're cutting out more frequencies, letting some more in. See, it's thinner like this. We've got the notch filter, which is almost the exact opposite. Now we're cutting a specific frequency. So we're allowing this low stuff through and this high stuff through, but we're cutting out right at 788 hertz. And this also has the same thing, so we can make it even more specific. This is nice if there's something that's maybe just like an irritating overtone or something you just want to get rid of.
Got to watch out for phase shifts, though. I'm getting a echo from someone.
Maybe a hot mic somewhere. Okay. Then we got morph. And this one allows you to morph between all of those filters we just saw. Or maybe not the, no, we don't get the notch, I'm sorry. But we can morph from high to low. And in the middle, we get the band pass. So you can kind of like transform your sounds a little bit with this. One of the cool things about the morph filter, when you just keep it, say, in low pass or high pass, for instance, is this has 2 additional steepnesses to it. So before we just had 12 and 24 decibels per octave, but now we can have like a really soft filter at 6 decibels. So you see how that really lets us keep a lot of those high frequencies in there? Much
that
softer.
Can be useful.
Yeah, it's gentler. And the resonance is ineffective at this point. I think that might be for this entire morph filter.
I think that's just the nature of 6 decibel filters.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's just 6. We got the 12, we got the 24, and we've also, for the times we really want to cut stuff out, 48. And this is about as steep as we get. So now we're really cutting stuff out. If you really want to get rid of all that stuff on one side or the other, or if you want a very thin band pass. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Cool. You guys have any questions?
Good stuff.
Jump right in.
Hey, Brian, would you mind letting me into the Zoom room? I logged in with a different computer.
Yes. Am I?
I think
Oh, here we go. There's someone else too. Okay, great.
I'm gonna...
Yep. Sorry about that, everybody. That was looking to get in. I need to like detach this so I can notice it more. Here we go. little more obvious down here for me.
Is that morph filter, is that connected to the LFO automatically? The morph
The morph parameter?
yeah, does that connect to the LFO automatically, or is that something you could
That's
map
something
to?
you would have to map yourself.
Okay.
So yeah, if you wanted to modulate this, you might want to grab the actual LFO modulator,
Mm,
right? And you can attach that. So
cool.
we could talk about that maybe once we get there, just in case LFO is a new concept to anybody. But that's a good point, because it is cool when it morphs and it moves around, it kind of evolves. Sometimes I even put it on a macro in a group. Welcome. Who just arrived? I think Farah. Farah, welcome aboard. Good to have you.
A morph can be cool for like DJ purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody mind checking their mic? Someone's mic is on. If you can mute while you're not talking, please.
Let's see. I could go around. I'm going to give Joe the mute. And okay. I'll bust out the chat too, just in case anything comes up. All right. So let's see. Now I think is where it starts getting a little more exciting, experimental with these different types of filters. We've got the DJ filter. The DJ filter is cool because it's both a low pass and a high pass in one knob. So we play our beat. We've got LFO on. We'll turn that off. If I go to the left, it's a low pass. And if I go to the right, it's a high pass. So a
But
lot
neutral in the middle, so that's the key, right?
Yep. You put it in the middle, and I think they it used to just be 0% originally. That was totally neutral, but I think it's a little bit neutral, there's more forgiveness, but it does switch pretty quick. So if you are using a control, you want to kind of be careful where you leave it. But yeah, neutral here, and then low pass, high pass. And I got to tell you, for years, I was trying to find good ways to do this, and I had created all these different instrument racks and finagled all these ways to build these things. And now it's just so nice that it's in auto filter, because it's great. It saves you. I like to have a low pass and a high pass filter on certain sounds in a live performance, and it allows you to do it all in one knob instead of two. So it really saves you that extra mapping, so you can be conservative with your controls.
For sure.
Was that a preset for the auto filter, or how did you get the DJ control there?
This is right here in the drop-down menu.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I
Filter
started
check.
with the complete default auto filter for this. So really, all I've touched is this control and this drop-down menu. And so you probably open it up. I think it defaults to having it at about like 10,000 hertz, which is cutting off a little bit of your high end. But yeah, so the DJ is a cool one. No, these are grayed out, so this doesn't really do anything anymore. And our resonance, they kind of, if you notice, they move a little bit with this particular filter, right? Like it gets higher as you go up. The resonance kind of drops down as we go back to center, and it gets higher over here too. So it does kind of create a more noticeable filtering effect that way as you get higher. And
It makes sense because you cut out energy, so you want to boost what's left a little bit.
Right. We've got, if we have nothing there, which you can dial it down a bit, it's almost, you don't even hear anything. But if we're down here, at least we still get that thump a little bit. And if you double click that, it brings it right back to 0. So that's the fastest way to do it. Now we got the comb filter. Okay, so here we go, comb. We get this cool phasing sort of sound with this one. And this also has some morph control. It just sort of inverses that there.
I really need to play with that. I haven't really yet.
When you get down here, there's like a flamming that happens. That could be part of what you guys are hearing too. And you can really get this effect now. Kind of just... a lot of interesting stuff happens. It's a good sound design filter. As is Resample. So wait till you hear what this one does. Let's bring this all down here a little bit. Resample. Kind of like a bit crusher. And we get no controls on it. But this gives it that sort of 8-bit crunchy, bit reduced sound. I don't know if there's too much to say about that one, but it's just got a neat vibe to it.
Cool.
Do those little flammy things, is that when you move it, or is that a feature of where you are in the waveform as you're sliding across?
With the comb filter?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what you were just showing.
This kind of deal.
Right, but as it moves, there was... Yeah, not really hearing what I was hearing before. Okay.
Maybe it was the other filter than the resampling.
Yeah, that was it. The resampling.
Yeah, those... You start getting like those...
Okay,
almost...
they are a feature of the position and not just the motion of the tool.
Yeah. There's like a ding.
Yeah, the ping. Yeah.
Isn't there a way to key track that? And you could actually play it?
Could you play that?
Is there
to like find the resonant tones of it?
Yeah.
I
was just
don't
curious.
think so.
I know
not
that's
on this. There are some filters like in synthesizers where you can set, the filter will have a key percentage, and that means the filter will follow which notes you're playing. And if you crank the resonance all the way up on some synths, you'll get almost like a sine wave synthesizer, because it's just that one tone that's really being boosted, kind of like if we were to look at this, like really high. And yeah, you'll get like that resonant playing the filter thing.
Cool.
Not aware of a way to do it with this though. But maybe if you put like an auto shift after it, you might get some tuning. It might also have a problem discerning those little dings from the rest of the drum kit.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it would depend on the sound, really.
What about expression control? That wouldn't do it? Like, because I think expression control has like a key map.
You could have something that's listening to the MIDI, and then you could try to scale it and see if you can get it to match perfectly. I did that one time with I forget, some resonant effect, but I got it to like pretty accurately match like what MIDI it was listening to.
Yeah, so if we bust out expression control, a fun little tangent here.
Sorry.
No, this is why this is fun, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because somebody's playing a tune. That's all right. I thought I had an alarm or something going on.
I know.
Yeah, but let's see, just for the heck of it, we'll map this to the frequency, and it'll pick up the notes that are coming in. There's not a lot of variety in these notes, I guess. But if you put that on a different track that was playing something melodic and then mapped it to this control, you might get a little... It's worth an experiment,
Yeah.
Yeah, see what happens.
What does expression control do exactly?
Expression control is listening to MIDI. It's a modulator, so it takes different types of MIDI sources, and they're all right here. It could be velocity, mod wheel, pitch bend, and it allows you to map it to basically any parameter that you can map in live. So it could be the drive amounts on this rack here, or it could be the volume of this audio track, and it'll modulate that. Yeah, wow is definitely the right word here, because you can do some wild stuff. And, if you're using any kind of controller with MPE, you've got these like, pressure and slide and stuff, which that's really nice for making instruments very interactive. Because, some of the synthesizers that you might be using might not have the MPE capability, but you can, say, modulate like a filter or an oscillator shape based on like where you're playing on the pad or the key. Yeah. It's that's a whole session, I think, right? We could definitely have some fun with that. Yeah, more than one, sure. Because it's not even just the track you're working on. I'm not limited to only mapping on this particular track that it's on. So it's taking the MIDI from this track, but then I can use that MIDI to modulate, the echo time on my return channel if I want. If that is a good idea or not, I don't know, but you could do it. Yeah. Yeah, in recent years, they've really taken Ableton Live and made it pretty modular, almost like a modular synth where you can start patching things together with these different modulators here. I'm going to take it away for now, though, before we get carried away. This is how you become somebody that just makes like beeps and boops and never makes music anymore.
You haven't even gotten into the built-in modulation on
I
Auto
haven't.
Filter.
No, auto filter. Like we're still on the surface level here.
Or the drive, which is super cool.
Yeah. So
Yes, the circuits, those are great.
we'll look at real quick this notch filter, or this is what is it called? Is it notch and low pass? So we've got kind of both of those filters together, so you can control where the notch is with the morph and where the cutoff is. So by moving this, I'm sort of getting this like phasing sound. I haven't really played with that one too much, but I'm sure there's a good use for it. The vowel, I think, is one that you guys will like. This makes it sort of vocal. We've got a pitch now, so it's not even frequencies, it's pitch. And again, if you look at our graph, we're allowing these frequencies through and we're cutting out everything outside the blue line. But we've got now what they're calling a formant control, which is meant to replicate the shape of the throat. That you'll see this on auto shift and auto tune devices. That's how you get kind of like the low guy voice or the like chipmunk voice when you play around with auto tunes. But this is pretty fun because you can get all kinds of interesting and expressive weird filtering,
That can sound good on basses.
Yeah, basses. Yeah, we're just playing with drums right now. I mean, this is, I think, especially nice on something melodic.
It almost sounds like Tom's a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if maybe
Use that with some circuit drive also on a bass. Oh yeah.
let's see what this synth sounds like. So this is 80s tape from Drift. I'll just drag this on here. More fit. All right, and just because I can't resist, I'm going to do the expression control real quick on this. So I'll take, maybe we'll do like the slide here, and I'll map it to, what scale is that? Formant, and maybe on this one we'll keep it as pressure. I'll map this to pitch, let's say. Let's just see what that does. Might bring the pitch a little lower. Now just like these subtle movements on the push is bringing this thing to life.
That's cool.
Let's see. So that's the Vowel. That's really cool. As everyone was mentioning, we've got the drive and the filter circuits. So the filter circuits, this is the most clean one, SVV. And it'll tell you too if you have your info view. This is kind of handy for these types of things. The clean variable state filter. So it's like your most pure to the original signal filter. We've got this DFM, which feeds back to distortion. So these become more obvious like when you start cranking up the drive. The differences between them. And even the shapes of the filter curves are a little bit different on all of these as well. I believe this is like a Moog filter, and I think this is the MS-20, the Korg. There we got these drives. And kind of hand in hand with that is this soft cliff button, which will let you kind of get away with more kind of nasty sounds. If that's too much, you can always bring down like the output here. Just hear the difference. So yeah, that one's got a little more bite at the top. So autofilter is also distortion too. You can use it for saturation distortion. Since we're talking about that, this is that resample. So you could picture like maybe you got a track going, right? And you need like, just you want like a 4-bar drum break. You might do something like just kill it. And now you're back into your tune. It's really nice for that sort of stuff. But yeah, the drive, I love the drive. I mean, it's just dirty. It's that kind of nice. It sounds very analog to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess now maybe we should get into what makes it auto filter, not just filter. And that is our modulation stuff. So we've got an LFO built in. And LFO, just in case anyone needs a brush up on that, is low frequency oscillator. And my favorite way to show you LFOs is to take an LFO out. So this is one of these modulators again. And it's an oscillator. So it makes waveforms just like a synthesizer. You got a sine wave. You got your kind of sawtooth up and sawtooth down. You got triangles. And you got squares and a couple others, right? I'll start with sine. It's nice and easy to hear. It's making this waveform at the rate of 1 hertz. So that's really slow. We can't hear that. And that's the idea, low frequency oscillator. It's so low that it doesn't really produce an audible tone. And even though it's not going to make a tone, we can use this shape to control other things, to modulate other parameters. So imagine you were turning a knob to make that shape. That's what you're going to be doing with an LFO. I'll just map this to the filter frequency, and it's moving that knob in this shape, up, down, up, down, up, down. And how fast it goes depends on the rate. right? So this is just for visual purposes, so you can see what the low frequency oscillator is actually doing. And if this was the saw down, it just kind of, and you can hear it, right? I'll turn that off though, because we'll stick within auto filter because it has this built in. We've got the LFO amount, and that would be the depth over here. We've got that rate control, and we've got those different oscillators. So if we put this sine wave on, and we start cranking up this here, had some good distortion on there. We're moving the filter, and that blue line is showing you what's happening to our filter frequency. So this is hard mapped to the frequency control. And we're just moving that around like that. We can speed it up. And we can change to different types of waveforms. Saw. It's just going up like that shape right there. Square will just go back and forth between two values. And Wander's kind of cool. It's sort of like, it's like got a mind of its own. If you want something a little random, Wander's great. Especially you kind of put it in a little bit, something small. And now your drums are just kind of swimming, you know, kind of moving out there a little bit.
I'm so happy they added Wander to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Wander's so cool. Like, this is what like analog gear does. This is what real things in the world do. They're not so perfect all the time. They kind of have a little bit of a life to them.
Some of the old envelope followers from Max for Live and stuff had random, but it's like you had to dial it in really carefully and stuff. Wander's just like pretty much perfect. You just put in how much you want.
Right, you probably like smooth it out. We got a sample and hold, which is essentially random, so this will just kind of move that filter. I'll crank it up so we get some, whatever that rate is. I think I heard a noise. I thought it was someone coming in the door. Okay, yeah, I thought it was an animal or something. My dog's sleeping behind me, but she doesn't make noise. She's all right. So yeah, that's that. And also, this has a smooth now, so this would kind of turn it into a little bit of like a wander, sort of. Instead of just this real quick jump, it's more of a smooth.
Instead of just gliding around, it's like it chooses a value, and then the smooth determines how long it takes to get to that value.
Yes. It's a little less jagged.
Destination based.
Cool. So we've got that. Now we're modulating it at the rate is hertz, right? So this is like a frequency, but we don't have to stick to that. We can go to time, which is just in actual seconds, which is, there's probably some math we could do to figure out exactly what that equals in hertz, right? But I think it lets us go much slower. That's pretty fast. Synced is great because this will keep it in time with your music, so things will happen in musical intervals here. Kind of see it dancing along now. Then we've got triplets, which are also just synced here, but now it's with the triplet feel. Dotted notes. And finally 16ths. So how many 16th notes is it going to take for this thing to move? And that's a pretty cool one because you can just have it every 9/16 notes it modulates. Go something a little more smooth here.
Yes, I like that a lot too because you can do weird timings and like stack different timings with different ones and stuff.
Yeah, because that suddenly takes this 4-bar loop, and now it's not looping the same every time because the frequencies are changing at a different rate than my loop. I don't even think this is 4 bars, right? Oh, it is 4. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a cool way to make a 4-bar loop more than 4 bars. Subtle way. We've also got the morph control, which just morphs these waveforms so that they kind of react differently. So you see how this one's like speeding up now? And it'll slow down this way. So you can take these waveforms and have them do unusual things. Yeah, Wander doesn't get that because Wander's just sort of on its own clock there.
Don't try to tell Wander what to do.
Yeah, you don't get wanders. Wouldn't be wandering if we had control over it. Right, so let's see. Now we've got this phase control. So right now, the left and right channel are being modulated the same way. So we don't hear any kind of stereo action, but as I change the phase, you're going to see a new line appear. And these are the left and right channels. I believe the yellow is the right. So it sounds like, actually. So now they're kind of separate from each other. You go back to like a synced. Do like a bar. And if you get it to be exactly 180, now they're exactly out of phase. So it's going to sound like things are moving back and forth in the headphones. Almost a little bit like an auto pan does, but this is not with volume, it's with frequencies. But it's the volume of your frequencies. There's another one called spin. So this is a lot like the phase control, but it's not symmetrical. So they're kind of supposed to create this spinning feeling, I guess. It goes up to 50. So that's together. Something like this I think is kind of cool with Wander. Oh, I'm sorry, that turns off. Wander like this, though, would be still the same. So this one will be the phase. This determines where the actual waveform of the LFO begins and what part of the actual shape. So is it starting right at the beginning, or is it maybe at the peak or the valley? Or so you can get it to suppose, like, let me see, a good way to show you this. Let's make this like so right now, by the time it gets to the end of that snare drum, it's reaching the end. But if I change this, the snare is now like somewhere over here. So we're just moving the shape out of phase. Put that back down. We've got the ability to make the steps. So instead of being smooth, now it's moving in 8 steps. So you get this kind of jumpy sound, I guess. Let's make it. And you can bring this down to just like a couple. Or you can make it more smooth. Once you get up to 64, you're almost as smooth as it normally is. But this can give you kind of like a jittery feeling in your filter. Maybe I'll put on something like the bandpass just to hear that. Just kind of climbing along. And we've also got sample and hold. So this will do it in time. So it's moving every 16th note, or it's moving every 8th note. that's kind of cool if you just want to like modulate each hi-hat. Like I got these 8th note hi-hats here. So that's a stepped thing. And again, that's the normal smooth. All good so far?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, cool,
Oh,
cool.
what's envelope?
Envelope is next. So when we click on envelope, now we're going to use the volume of the signal coming into autofilter to modulate the filter. So it's going to react to the volume. Let's put it on low pass here. So you'll notice too the controls change, right? So we got the LFO. I'll bring the LFO totally off so we're not going to be confused by that. And now we click this and we've got an envelope. And maybe just the best way to kind of get you to see this is just to show you. So if I crank this up, the volume of these drums, let me mute the hi-hat so it's not interfering here. But when the kick hits, it shoots the filter over, right? And when the snare hits, it does the same thing. And the more we turn this up, the more it's reacting. And we can go into negatives too, so we can have it kind of duck away when the volume goes up. And we have a few controls for that. Maybe bring this down here. The attack is how long it takes it to actually react. So you can smooth it out. If you bring this up, it'll go slower. Let me turn this off for a second. So it's not jumping out quite as fast. And since this is drums and the sounds are pretty quick anyway, we're not getting as much movement. Whereas if I bring it back here, because it just didn't have enough time to get to where it was going to go. That can be more obvious if I crank this up. So that's how fast is it reacting. And the release is how fast does it let go. So it kind of goes back, takes about a quarter of a second, but we can make that much faster. But we almost don't even, you don't hear it quite as well. The release helps you sort of notice that it's happening. Hold will prevent it from releasing until it goes through its attack phase. So it'll keep it moving for that entire attack phase. It's short still. It's only 100 milliseconds, 1/10 of a second. You can see it. It has to sort of last for 100 milliseconds before it jumps back real quick. Like a cool rhythmic thing happens though, right? You kind of get this neat action. And just like we had the sample and hold before, where it was this sort of stepped thing, now we got that here too. Bring this back up. So now it's moving in this more jagged. And you could change that. Once you put it up to 64th notes, it's much less perceptible. But this will give you that kind of, almost like a robotic-y kind of modulation. Do you guys have any questions on any of that so far?
Did you put two of those in series and do that, do one thing on the high frequencies and kind of an opposite thing on the low frequencies, so that you would get two things going on that are similar but in different parts? Just
Right.
a
In series?
wild thought. Yeah,
Like this, one after the other?
right.
Yeah, you definitely could. Let me get rid of that. But the thing worth keeping in mind is this filter is getting the signal out of this filter.
Right.
So if you're cutting off too
Uh,
much of the high, and then you have a,
right.
right, like
Right.
if we do this, there's nothing.
Right. But
But yeah, you can have them kind of,
if you had them going in opposite directions and you left,
yeah, you can have, even do like LFOs. Because you can combine these two, right? So
yeah.
we can combine these two. I wanted synced. So in the case of this one, it's being modulated by the LFO and the envelope.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a powerful tool.
Yeah. And the other thing you could do if you wanted to make it parallel, you could group this. You'd right click or Command G, and then open up your chains, and then we could drag this guy down here, and now we've got two parallel chains. So the audio is going through both of these.
At the same time.
So we're getting one bit of audio is being modulated like this,
Okay.
and then this guy is being modulated like that.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was picturing.
Yeah, that would be parallel. Yeah, and you kind of hear there's like phasing kind of things
Yeah.
happen, which would get interesting.
What kind of where can you imagine applying this sort of outside of like electronic DJ, you know, media?
Yeah, so I do this a lot in some of the more singer-songwriter or rock band stuff. I don't know if I've ever done this per se, but to just give stuff a little life. Suppose I programmed some drums, right? I could put like a slowly moving filter on it, maybe on like a hi-hat or something, just to give it a little bit more life, or on a keyboard part.
Right.
Even a guitar, you could, if you had a guitar, you can basically make it a wah-wah pedal out of this. You would set it to bandpass, and yeah, that
Just
would
a
be,
little touch of envelope following up or down can go a long way.
yeah, it'll make it kind of, you're suddenly like kind of got a wah-wah
Makes it
pedal.
alive because it reacts to the signal.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, even though you might think, and they probably were born out of DJs and electronic music, it's surprising how nice it can be in some more acoustic, other genres, really. Not necessarily acoustic, but acoustic too. But yeah, like anything, really. I find that a lot of fun, for taking some of those techniques and applying them elsewhere to see what you get. Maybe you want like your second verse, maybe in your kind of like rock band song to have like this kind of more mellow vibe. Maybe you put the auto filter on the drums, and now they're like these kind of mellow things, so that when the next chorus comes in, you take it off, and the drums are back and they're full, and it sounds good again. So now that chorus has more impact.
It's the radio filter, classic radio vintage filter.
Yeah, on a vocal. Yeah. Put this on the vocal, and now that maybe the background vocal that like kind of does a call and response, just to give it a slightly different flavor.
You could
And
also
when,
use auto filter a lot for like general mixing, like for high pass and low pass that you need to use in mixing or mastering or whatever. Generally mixing more than mastering. But then you could add a tiny little bit of the modulations, envelope or LFO, just to make it kind of analog.
Kind of like a tape effect.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of going crazy with it, you're just doing just tiny little bits to add like more character and nuance and vibe and make it more analog and less digital sounding.
Because that's kind of what tape effects are. I guess there's probably some pitch bending too that's subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, which chorus will give you and not so much this.
well, and just in general, any kind of audio or music, when you start exploring these tools, you will hear different things coming through, and some of them are pleasant and enhancing, and others may not be. But just knowing that those tools are out there, and occasionally seeing what happens when you apply them can lead to some very exciting sometimes and pleasant results.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I take this drum part, right? And yeah, just maybe that little bit of movement. Very static. Maybe I'll make it like 12 too, so it's not quite as extreme. There's just like something happening. Subtle. These things would add up too over the course of a mix if you started throwing them all in.
So there's a sidechain up there too. Can you talk briefly about how you might use that, apply that?
Yes, good idea. Let's see. I'll pull this guy. Oh, I forgot we had that. We had all that fun stuff going on. Right,
If you do another track with like a sustained melodic instrument that's keyed to the drums.
That's exactly what I'll do. And maybe just for fun, I'll make some chords with expressive chords, just to give you something else to think about. This expressive chords device plays chords for you. It's a little low here, so we can transpose it. That will be good enough for me. There's a nice strum parameter here that'll give you like a... I didn't really hear it in this sound. Nice. So let's figure out what notes those were. Well, I could just play it in. How's that? Go. Okay. Nice thing about this is it's just one note, each chord. Okay. This is just sort of reacting right now just from some of that modulation we had. It's real subtle. But let's look at sidechain, because this is another way this becomes really powerful. So we had the envelope before, right? It was reacting to the volume of the drums before, because that's the signal that's coming in. And right now, this synth will react to the volume of this filter will react to the volume of the synth that's going into it. But we can use other sounds to change the filter envelope. We can have other things sidechain to it. So if we click external, now I can select something from my project here, and I can go to that straight rock beat. And even more specifically, I could pick a specific sound in there, a specific pad. Let me just play it, and maybe I'll do the snare. So we can see the snare right here. That's the level the snare's making. Turn this LFO off. And we'll now we're seeing the snare duck away those frequencies. It's making the filter close down every time the snare hits. And we can make it open up, so let me bring this here.
You can make it more sensitive too by increasing the sidechain gain.
Yep, so right here we could This is increasing the volume of the drums coming into this filter. And the mix allows you to kind of blend them. So now it's a little bit of the synth and a little bit of the drums that are moving that filter around. And yeah, that's like a lot right now. But if we bring it something a little more subtle, I can mute that so we can just hear it. Maybe we'll give it a little more attack. So you hear that pulse now and that.
That's lush.
It almost makes it sound like the snare has a whole effect on it. Because every time the snare hits, the frequencies of that filter just kind of poof, pop out at you.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. You can also, there's a filter for the sidechain input. And that would mean we could cut out certain frequencies. This would be useful if, so I selected specifically the snare, but you could select the whole drum rack. That would be up here. And now everything's affecting it, all those drums. But maybe I only want the kick drum to do that. I can turn on the filter and bring the low frequencies and just drop that. And now all the filter is hearing is that kick drum frequencies. And if you want to know what the filter is hearing, you click this control here. Will it let me still do this? I guess I can't mute that, huh? What, I have to change it pre-mixer? There we go. So now I mute this, and I can hear what the sidechain is hearing. So I'm hearing the drum through this synth channel because we're listening to what the sidechain is. We're able to hear what the filter's hearing, and this is what's making our filter move. So this is just a nice way if maybe I didn't have a drum rack and it was just a loop and I don't have the separate instruments, I can use this filter to just cut everything else out so only the kick drum is now moving it.
Would that be sort of like sidechain compression on?
Yeah, it's really the same idea. The only difference is we're using the side-chained audio to control the filter frequency, whereas in a compressor, you're using it to control the what's happening with the gain reduction.
But this kind of sweeps in a frequency direction, so it gives
Yeah.
it a little bit of a weird effect.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. That's why I like to just type it.
You don't have control over the attack and release characters. Those are hard-coded in there, I think. Oh, no, wait. If you click on it, then they pop up. Attack, hold, release.
But this would still kind of work for you here. Yeah, if we had the compressor, we could sidechain in, say, like that drum track and choose the kick drum. And now we're sidechaining this. We're reducing the volume of this track with the kick drum. Then that's like really common on bass lines because you want the bass to move out of the way for the drums. But you can do that, if you do that with the filter, then you still kind of keep the high frequencies. You can just kind of pull out the low frequencies. So if I select that kick drum here, and let's make this now, whoops, didn't mean to do that. I don't even need this right now. Here, this is what I want. So let's make that. It has a sound to it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
The modulating bass distortion.
And I'm sure if we do some of these other guys, we can't make that the other way. This almost sounds like my kick drum is blowing my speakers or something.
It's great for sound design.
Yeah, and interaction. Getting things to interact with each other. Yeah. All right. When you start playing with this stuff, and you're like, oh my god, and I think, it can almost be overwhelming. It's like, wow, what am I gonna do with this? And a lot of what I'm doing right now, I'm just trying stuff out. I mean, I just really said, okay, I'll do the auto filter over a beat mostly, and then if we need to get to melodic stuff, I'll just grab a synth. It's not very planned, and I think there might, of course, be like a sidechain compressor. I think is a little more deliberate, right? Because you're really trying to do something technical for the most part. This might be a little more experimental, like Animus said, sound design-y, sort of let's see what happens if kind of thing.
Yeah.
What
It really
happens?
helps to know what all these things do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Part of the beauty, and something I always loved about Live when I first started using it, is look how similar they look, right? Like it's uniform.
Yeah.
I was using Logic before Live, and I loved Logic. It was amazing. But every time I opened a new device, it was like a new spaceship I had to learn, Like at least here, like we have a steering wheel and pedals, like in a gear shifter or something. And it's the same across the devices. They're pretty consistent with that for the most part. So if you know how to sidechain a compressor, you really know how to sidechain an auto filter. And even the gate, it's also got a sidechain as well. So it looks the
That's
same.
probably one of the big reasons why I like to make racks out of VST effects and use those when possible, because it's like visual overstimulation, all these different GUIs with all their different styles and colors and sizes and fonts and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can
VST,
almost...
you put it in a rack. Sorry. And
Yeah, I make default racks for a VST, and then I'll just open that rack instead of the VST.
that's a great idea.
And then you have all more benefits. You can do the random button and whatever else, set your own defaults, etc.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, if you have... I haven't opened this in 100 years, so let's see if it'll even work.
At some point on my blog, I shared a ton of them. If you look at Perform Module and just Google VST on there.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, this is like an 8-bit synth, and it's already got these parameters mapped. But if there's anything that's not here, you just click Configure, and as soon as you start moving something, it'll start populating this area.
See, that one has more than 16 parameters, so I probably wouldn't bother. I would just have it racked inside and use those controls. But
Yes.
otherwise, I'd map them to macros individually.
Right, so I can then take, oh geez, what do I want here? Filter, cutoff. That's an easy one to hear, right? So, I don't even know.
It also makes it easier for MIDI control. Like whatever MIDI controller you have, you can just turn the knobs easier then.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's nice. So you don't have to deal with all this. Like I have to relearn how to use this thing again.
Yeah.
Plus, it's so small, Some of them don't let you open them.
Right.
But yeah, the uniformity is pretty nice in Live. This little thing where we did the headphone is sort of a funny way you can route things inside of Live. It's like I don't know if it's a hack, but it almost feels like it where I
It's a
can,
hack.
yeah, you'd call it a hack. So yeah, we could put
Sure, why
compressor
not? You're not
on.
you're not technically supposed to do it, but you can.
Yeah, so if I turn that on, I can have my MIDI synth coming out of this audio track, and I mean, there's probably reasons why you would do that for fun. I'm kind of blanking right now, but yeah, if you ever need to do routing that you're not allowed to do normally.
Well, I don't understand why they don't have a simple device just to route audio from one track to another, like inside the chain.
So like
People have done plenty of Macs for live devices to do that and stuff, but like, why isn't there just one in the
Yeah.
library? I don't get it.
Hmm.
Maybe too many people open wormholes to other dimensions.
Yeah, I guess you could probably do that, right? Suddenly you're
Very dangerous territory.
Yeah, I have to imagine, right? If you're making software, you have to sometimes think about where you don't want people to go. It's something I've talked to people about on the podcast before.
Feedback loops and shit.
Yeah, how do you know how far this knob should go? Probably the most famous example of that is Autotune, where they just decided to let it go to like 0 milliseconds. So you get that like really quantized voice, but they were like, I don't think anyone would ever want that, but I'll just leave it. And that changed everything. Imagine if that
Jared
just
discovered it, and yeah.
yeah, if that choice wasn't made and it was just used because we want it to sound natural, they could have limited that little control from like 0 milliseconds to you can only go to 100 or something like that.
Yeah, because you can use those effects very carefully and make them sound totally natural, just like it's a perfect singer.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of effort to do that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think? You want to take a couple minutes and play around with it and then maybe come back, and if you want to share anything you did, we'll make it short, just maybe like 10 minutes or so to maybe pull up a sound you like and put the auto filter on. And if you want to share what you did, if you can either export it or share your audio over Zoom, or just maybe a question might come up along the way.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Cool. All right, so what do we say, like 10 minutes? We'll come back.
Sure.
8:25 on the East Coast. 25 after the hour.
Yeah. All right. See y'all then.
All right, see you in a few. So I added a little wah-wah guitar. Get ready.
Cool.
That was fun. Yeah, that's just a little bit of envelope and a little LFO as well.
That was
And-
great. That sounds so cool.
it gave it a nice little dance, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. Did you guys have fun? Anything cool
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, I just was playing with the some of the modulation. Let's see, I did some morphing. Just like put a beat to it and this like little whole tone sound that kind of sounds kind of marimba-y sort of, but added a lot of drive to it, so it sounds kind of industrial, I suppose.
Do you want to show it? Do you want to make I'll make you
Oh,
the co-host?
yeah, sure. I can just show. It's just a couple clips that I put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's try this.
There we go.
It's just drum brain. It's cool. So anyway, something like that.
Do you mind turning those auto filters off so we can hear the difference?
Sure. All right, here we go. Let's go from the beginning of that.